Hello, career thought leaders. Today we are going to be talking about the top trends for 2025 that you need to know to help your career seekers, your job seekers, your people who want to advance their careers or even grow a business, what they need to know to be successful in 2025 and beyond. And we've been doing these events for the past 12, 13 years, getting together, talking about the new and the next in careers and how do we help people be successful in the future of work. So go ahead and drop a note. Let me know that you're joining me. I'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear your thoughts as we go through these trends. What is it that you're seeing, and what can we do to help our clients? So one of the first things that we always talk about is how do you come up with these trends? Well, we have a group of individuals that gets together on a very regular basis and goes through trainings, talks about the new and the next, gets information to help them with their clients. And so we kind of go to that group and say, what do you see? What's coming up? What's going on? We also have a board of directors that has been with us for quite a while, and they help us come up with some of these ideas. And then, of course, we're tracking trends. We're reading things that HR people are writing. We're just, we're doing what we can do to stay on top of the new and the next in careers. And we hope that we can help you do that too, but that you share with us what you're seeing, because it really helps us when we can share and kind of get that. What do we see as we work with clients, and what do we see from the big reports and the things that come in from up on high, if you will, the World Economic Forum, McKinsey, all of the research that comes in, because sometimes those two things match and sometimes they don't. And it's important for us to talk about why and how that might impact the way we work with clients. All right, so let's dive in. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Nancy and Amy, thank you for joining us. Let's get into our top trends. So let me see if I can get this to work. So our first trend, let me see here. So our first trend is that disappeared. We'll try it again. So our first trend is AI in work, hiring, and job search. Now, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise because this is what everyone is talking about now. And we will talk about technologies that aren't necessarily AI, although most of them are AI enabled and have been for decades. It's just with new generative AI technologies, the conversation has elevated, right? And we know that our job seekers are trying to figure out how to use AI in their job search. And we're knowing that recruiters are using AI in the way that they're dealing with candidates. We've seen new technologies pop on the scene that I think are pretty exciting. One of the most recent ones, Bright Hire, I just saw the last few weeks talking about how they're helping employers create a skills-based interview process. So we know that skills-based hiring has been a trend. We actually talked about that at Career Jam a few years ago. But what about how do we actually get employers to do that? And so Bright Hire is using AI and generative AI to help an employer say, okay, these are the skills. First, they got to figure out what that is. What are the skills to do the job? And then how do you interview for those skills? One of the other technologies that we heard about in our Tech Jam just a few months ago, Find'em, which we've also been talking about for many years, but now they have seen a huge expansion with some new partnerships. So we have companies that aren't just, huge companies that are now using these digital sourcing techniques because AI allows them to create a profile of people from their online activity anywhere online and take that to the next level. So those are some of the technologies that we'll be talking about. But then you look at the AI side for job seekers, and where maybe you've had clients, so drop in the chat, right? Have you had a client try Lazy Apply or Loop CV or any of those technologies? Again, those have been around for a few years. We had a presentation about Loop CV in Career Jam 2021 or 2022. So it's not new, but now they're finally catching hold, getting some traction because of all the talk about AI. So we've got clients that are using these, and we shared an article in our newsletter last week, a recruiter who said they applied to thousands of jobs using these tools, and they're kind of talking about what they saw and what the outcomes were. So when we look at this transition and what that means for job search, that's what we'll be talking about. So you've got more AI use by recruiters, by job seekers. You've got more applications per open job than ever before. And how do we manage that? How do we walk that? And then you have some of these ideas like skills-based hiring that AI is playing into and making more possible and better. But sometimes our clients don't really understand what that means. I'm seeing a lot of clients list weird skills in their skills section on their resume because they think, "Ooh, skills-based hiring." But that's not really how it plays out for the job seeker, is to, list a whole bunch of skills in your core competencies section. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. So I'd love to hear from you. How are you seeing that play out for your job seekers when you're talking about AI in hiring, AI in job search? And beyond that, so we have Martin Redstone. I'm really excited. So Martin Redstone is an automation consultant who specializes in helping HR departments use AI. He recently gave a presentation on AI in recruiting and job search. And so we found him and we brought him in, and he'll be delivering a presentation during Career Jam, talking about how AI is being used in job search and hiring as well. Then we have Ann Nakaska, who's going to be talking about AI in the future of work. So how is all of this technology changing the jobs to be done, changing the jobs that, you and I and anyone who's coming into their careers in these times, how are they going to find jobs, and what does that look like? So she's going to be talking about what those jobs will be and how that's changing given the new technologies. And I'm excited to have her come in and talk. She's been talking about this topic for a while. And we have a very international group this year at Career Jam because Martin is from the UK, Anne is from Canada. So we have a diverse group of folks coming in, and we'll have more to chat about that here in just a second. So that's our first topic. No surprise, right? We all guessed that one was coming. But what are we going to talk about beyond AI and job and technology? So we've got this white collar and new collar job shift. And you've probably heard about this as well. More white collar layoffs. What does that look like? More blue collar jobs, more what they call new collar jobs, which are that new hands-on kind of work that also requires technology skills. And I don't think there's a job today that really doesn't require people skills, but we've definitely seen a shift in knowledge work, in technology work. And then what does that look like with the new and the blue collar work coming on as well? We'll talk a little bit about layoffs, and the data around layoffs actually says that there weren't more layoffs around this time of year than last year. But of course, that's just 1 year's comparison. So we'll look at a broader scope of how that layoff trend is happening. And of course, it really doesn't matter what the trends in layoffs are. If we're seeing more people that are long-term unemployed, more people who are struggling to find work, what do we do about that? Why is that happening? And how can we help them get back into work faster and during this time of transition? So we'll be talking a lot about that with those white collar, new collar jobs and the layoff trends. Still working on a speaker in that area, but hopefully some of the people we've reached out to will confirm soon, and we'll be able to announce that speaker as well. While I'm here, I'm just going to share. If you're kind of following along and you're wondering what are we talking about here, this is Career Jam. So it's coming up in November. And the cool part about our calendar here is that when you look at this, it will actually give you your time zone. So I'll put the link up here in just a second. But if you go to this, it will change over to your time zone so that you can see it in your time zone. Right now it's in Mountain Time. So you can see that we'll be kicking off at 8 a.m. Mountain Time with 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday the 12th. It'll have Anne. She's going to be talking about that AI and the future jobs. We're going to talk about Jillian Kelly here in just a second. Then Martin will be talking about AI and recruiting, and you can see the rest of the schedule there. So this is our upcoming event and where we go deeper into the trends that we'll be talking about just briefly here today. So this gives us an opportunity to really think about what is coming next for our clients, what is coming next in the world of work, and how can we help people prepare for that. So that's what this event is all about, and how do we help people prepare for the future of work. And we do it every year because it's one of those things that, although some of the trends stay, and we talk about them a couple of times, a lot of things change over. So that's what we'll be talking about during Career Jam 2024. All right. So now our third trend. So we've talked about AI, no surprise, white collar layoffs, which was one of the topics that people voted on as being more important to them and their clients. And so then our third one here is generations at work. So it's interesting. I did a presentation way back in like 2018. And the podcast person that was interviewing me, we were talking about how the conversation around generations had really died out. We weren't talking about that as much anymore. Well, now you have all of the conversation about Gen Z really taking hold in the workforce. Gen Z being, most of them have graduated from college. They're taken into the workforce right now. And Generation Alpha, which is the generation younger than them, who is starting to get jobs, right? The oldest of that generation is 16. So they're starting to get those first jobs in the workplace. So now we have that huge span of generations. Plus, we have people that aren't retiring and they're staying at work. They're healthy. They're younger than we ever have been at that age, whatever that age is, and they want to stay and contribute in some way in the workplace. And so it's creating a few different things. One of the things we'll talk about, and you can coin this term for the Career Thought Leaders Board, is the silver ceiling. So we've got this silver ceiling of individuals who are not retiring. And I don't know about you, but when I first started in this business almost 15 years ago now, 16 years ago, that they were talking about the silver tsunami and how all these people were going to retire and we were going to have this huge gap in the workforce. And we just kind of kept waiting for it. And even 2 years ago, people started talking about again, the silver tsunami, because COVID had a lot of people retiring. But what we're seeing now is people coming back into the workforce, even some who retired during COVID. They want to work differently. They want maybe more flexibility. They're contributing in different ways, but they're not retiring. And so what does that mean for all generations and how the workforce will kind of progress? And what does it mean as our economic situation shifts and we maybe don't have such low unemployment and so many openings that those people are helping to fill, which of course is very different country by country when you just look at demographics and economics, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But we have this generations conversation both happening on the Gen Z, Gen Alpha side. I'm excited to have Chris Webb come and talk with us about that. He is a career development expert from the UK, works in that collegiate space, and he's going to be talking about Gen Z. And then we'll have a great speaker announcement here soon for that silver ceiling conversation of what's going on with our non-retirees and how they're continuing to work and persist in the workplace. So that's our third trend, is looking at that generational conversation kind of at both ends. But don't worry, millennials and Gen X, we won't forget about you. We'll also talk about how that is playing into the workplace, that generation coming into leadership sometimes, or maybe struggling to get into leadership because of that silver ceiling. So I'd love to hear what you all are seeing there as well. Buffering. Oh, LinkedIn. So if you're having trouble getting us on LinkedIn, you might switch over and try YouTube. And our YouTube is really easy. It's just careertl.com/YouTube. So if you want to catch up with us on YouTube instead of LinkedIn, please do that. And hopefully the feed is better over on YouTube. All right. So that's our third trend, the generations piece. Then we're going to add our fourth trend. So we've talked about those three, and the fourth one is mental health at work. This is a big conversation as well, and we did talk about it a little bit last year. Mental health at work, the change in the conversation about life-work balance with Elizabeth Harney talked about that. But this conversation has just continued, and it shifted a little bit to being less, I think, a little bit about work-life balance or life-work balance, and more about real mental health conversations, people struggling, and the way that our conversations have shifted, especially here in the US with the talk about politics, but in other countries around the world as well, the tension, the challenge, and the way that that's shifting at work. I think there's some conversations that are interesting, like the 4-day work week, although I've got to tell you that that's not like this panacea that's going to work for everyone. I would not like to work a 4-day work week, because what that means is you've got these really long days so that you can have those 3 days off. That doesn't work for me. It doesn't, I would say it probably doesn't work for most parents, because you've got to get off early or to go get the kids or whatever. I mean, I think that some of these solutions people are talking about almost sound like they're a one size fits all solution, but of course we know it doesn't really work that way. So that conversation has just grown, and we've been talking about it more, and lots of conversations around the mental health at work piece. So we'll be talking more about that as well. And let me check my comments here. Oh yeah, excellent. Thank you. Jennifer shared the link specifically for this YouTube. And so you can go there and check it out if you're having trouble with the buffering on LinkedIn. All right. So that piece of it kind of permeates a lot of things, right? The mental health at work, burnout, life work balance, and working hours, flexibility, hybrid, which has challenges as well for people in that life work balance piece. So we'll cover a lot of topics under that umbrella of mental health at work. And what does that look like? Our last trend then is global politics and economics. So we're not going to get into political conversations. We are going to talk about how political conversations are impacting the workplace. We're also going to talk about how political forces are changing the workplace. When you look at war and sustainability conversations, the growth of green jobs, and all of the political kind of related things, although maybe some of them shouldn't be, they are. So we'll talk about some of that. And then we'll just talk about economic predictions and some of the conversations around labor market predictions, as well as economic predictions globally. And what does that look like? How does that impact the way that we work? When we look at population growth and where populations are growing, where they're not growing, what does that mean for people? What does that mean for the world of work? How does hybrid and remote figure into that? Short term, maybe more long term, because I feel like things are going to shift again long term towards remote when we look at just demographics. And then we'll have that conversation as well. So you can feel that there's a lot of things kind of grouped into there, with green careers, economic, labor market predictions, and those pieces that will come together and bring that conversation together. So those are our 5 trends that we will be talking about. So we're excited to chat about those, and I'll just show them one more time. So we've got the AI in work, white collar, generations at work, mental health, and then the economic and political divisions and drivers that are changing careers. And that is what we've seen. So overall, these are what we've seen that HR people are talking about, that big data, and we'll look at some of that data a little bit deeper in the weeks to come, as well as, of course, during Career Jam itself. We'll look at some of those topics and what they are leading to. I'm going to just bring that up one more time here. I want to acknowledge our speakers for this event. So Jillian Kelly, coming out of Australia, she runs Outplacement Australia. So she's going to be sharing the trends that are going on there, economic, job search, as well as hiring. And Casca, as I said, is going to be talking about what's going on with AI and technology in the future of careers. How is that going to shift jobs and the way that they're changing? Martin Redstone going to come in and talk about AI and automation in HR as well as in job search. And then Chris Webb coming in to talk about Generation Z and what he's seeing with careers, career development, career decision making for that generation. Very excited to hear from all of these folks and what they're seeing in the marketplace and how we can build off of that. Now, here on Trend Tuesday Live, part of the reason that we do this event is so that we can bring you these conversations every week and bring you the data, and you'll get it sprinkled throughout the year. So if you come to Career Jam, you get all the stuff, you get the latest, you get the lead, and all of those perks. But don't worry, we'll also be dribbling it out here for you throughout the year. And so if you have any other topics or trends that you think we should talk about, feel free to send those to me. You can always drop them in the chat and share with me what you're seeing so that we can share that with you, share that with the rest of our colleagues as well. So I hope our main time for Trend Tuesday Live is we're usually here at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which allows our Australian colleagues to join us as well. So we're usually here at 4 p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday, and we'll be back to that regular schedule next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're actually going to be talking specifically about the sourcing shift and how the flood of applications from these AI systems is changing the way that people are sourcing, so finding candidates for jobs, and what we can do to help our clients be more successful in their job search based on those trends. So don't miss out next Tuesday, and do feel free to drop me a note in the chat or in the comments or in my DMs if you have any thoughts on other trend topics that we can cover throughout the year. So the Career Jam deadline for early registration is November 1st. So you've got a few weeks. We'll be announcing some more speakers, and get that on your calendar November 12th through the 15th. All right, y'all, we'll see you next week for the now, the new, and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone.